I'm Keith Bergman, and today on the Devblog, we're talking rabbits and robots and golems and goats. Welcome to the War Room. I'm Keith Bergman, and this is the Devblog, my weekly spot where I talk about the new things I'm working on in retro computing. And since this is the very first one, I figure we should start with a little introduction. Hi, I'm Keith. I'm a middle-aged dad from Ohio, a former comedian and rock and roll drummer, and a writer who has been collecting and enjoying retro computers for about 20 years now. I had a TI-99 4A growing up, and I had gotten rid of it and was embracing the modern era, and I just got that itch to get back into these old systems and start playing around with this stuff. And in the early to mid 2000s, I got myself my first TI system, and I have not looked back. Now, the basement of my house is a 15-year work in progress. We have a VIC-20, two Apple IIs, a Commodore 64, an Apple GS. We have a Timex Sinclair 2068. We have a couple of TRS-80s, a couple of color computers, a Mattel Aquarius. All this stuff I'm going to talk about in future episodes as we work on chronicling all the cool things here in the War Room. But the primary purpose of the Devblog is to talk about all of the various projects that I'm working on, that I'm trying to catch up on and get out into the world to help enrich the retro community. Now, while I'm interested in all kinds of things, my real wheelhouse is the early games made for these computers when there was so little in the way of extra add-ons or memory or any kind of peripherals to really take advantage of some of the more modern aspects of computing. Stuff from just the dawn of time as far as video gaming and retro computing goes. One of the things I love to collect are cassette games. And I love games from companies like Not Polyoptics, one of my all-time favorite game companies. These guys made games in TI Basic for the 99 4A. Now, this is a slow language. It doesn't have sprites. It doesn't have multiple statement lines. It can't access assembly language or memory expansion without a lot of hacking. And they made these games that ran in like 11K, that loaded from tape, and they did wonders. They did amazing things. Games like Keisan and Sengoku Jidai and Ant Wars and Tower and Hordes. These were amazing feats of technology, and that's the kind of stuff I wanted to replicate in some of the games I made. So just a week or two ago, I finally released my first game in a couple years, a game called Rabbits and Robots. Now, this is a one-player strategy game in TI Basic. I designed it to run on a stock system. This is something that could have come out in 1980. It's going to load from cassette tape, and it can be played on an unexpanded TI-99 4A. I'm actually going to release it as a package of 4 games called Basic Pack 1 that I'm hoping to get out by the end of the year. And this is a long-delayed project because, you know, life gets in the way with these things. But Rabbits and Robots is finished. It's released. You can download the code from AtariAge.com in the TI forums, or you can go to OrphanTech.com or the TI-99ers group on Facebook. Any of those places you can find the basic code. On the Atari Age forums, there's even a program listing if you'd like to copy and paste it or check out how the code is written yourself. Now, like I said, my goal with this game was to make something that would be playable and buyable in 1980. And it is a slow game. But the process is this. You have 5 robots on the left side of your screen, and you're trying to build power conduits across the screen to the right-hand side, across a green valley. And the only other thing in the valley are 15 little rabbits. Now, these rabbits will hop around, they'll eat the grass, turning the tiles from green to yellow, and they will also eat through your conduits, because these rabbits can apparently eat metal and wrap around the screen and somehow teleport from the left, right, or top to bottom. So I don't know what's in the water in this valley, but you get a certain amount of turns each day to move your robots. You have to get across with the red tiles. At the end of your day, then they try to send power surges through your conduits across the valley, and if they make it across, your percentage goes up. If they don't, your percentage goes down, and after a while you have to have a certain percentage to keep playing. Meanwhile, the rabbits are just knocking holes in your conduits. They are messing up your robots. You can step on them, and you can take out the rabbits, but then they respawn somewhere else. It's a whole thing. It gets chaotic very quickly, Well, quickly is not the right word for that because it is a slow game. It is in TI Basic, but it's a strategy game where things go awry almost before you realize it. And I feel like as slow as the game is, if you're committed to the experience of playing a game in that style, a game where the pace is slow and deliberate and you're going to move and it's going to take a second for your robot to go across the screen and then the rabbits take a while. I think my high score in the final version of the game, I made it to day 27. And in that day, the rabbits taking their turn moving around the screen took over 4 minutes. So like I said, it's not a fast-paced game, but I think it's rewarding if you're committed to that retro experience and that aesthetic and just playing that slow vibe of a game and really just soaking up the strategy of it and trying to get your robots across and keep your conduits built and patch the holes that the rabbits made in them. I think it's a fun game. I hope you'll check it out, and that's what I've been working on for the last few weeks. So like I said, I have at least a dozen other projects. A bunch of things that I've either gotten almost finished or got halfway done and ran into a problem and stopped, or just, again, life got in the way. I have so many things on the back burner that I want to finish for you guys and get out there. And true to form, I was 2 or 3 days out from releasing Rabbits and Robots, and I had another new idea that I had to start working on. So I've just started the baby steps of making a new game that I am calling Golems and Goats. And Golems and Goats takes place on a mountain. Each section of the mountain is a column. The columns are of varying lengths, and there is an ocean at the bottom with some blue water there, and there are going to be little goats on top of each column, and there are golems that come out of the water and throw rocks and knock the columns down. So gradually the mountain is sinking into the water. The goats are on top, and they are trying to battle for supremacy and the high ground. It's all a little nebulous right now, and I really didn't need to take on another project, but I got the idea, I started drawing the screen, and now Golems and Goats is probably going to be the next thing I work on for the next week. So hopefully when I see you next week, I'll have some updates on that, and I'm going to talk about a few games I released a few years ago that have been out into the community for a while. 3 games called Dice Pack 1 that I released on floppy disk back in 2021 or 2, I don't remember. But those games are already out, and we're going to revisit them and talk about my programming process a little bit. But that's all next week. I appreciate you being here this week for the Devblog. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and tune in tomorrow for the first episode of Tales from the War Room.